Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 253 of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I am your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome back to another episode. This is the second episode in 2025, and as I said in the last episode, I'm really excited for everything that we have to look for and look forward to in 2025, and I hope that these last several episodes of the podcast in discussing food, episode 249 through 253, that the listeners are more informed and are possibly, hopefully, motivated to really be considerate about what we're eating in a way that we may not have been before. I hope that this episode, this is the concluding episode of this particular series. I hope that after listening, you'll do some research. I'll be sharing resources at the end of this episode, and I hope that you'll avail yourself to them and do your own research so that you will find, like I have, how really duped this American society has been, and generally how uninformed our community is regarding what it is that we're eating, how it's impacting our physical health, how it's impacting our mental health, and how it contributes to disease in our present life and, even into our old age. And so this, I think I said last episode was the concluding episode, but I just wanted to come back and I'll, definitely share the resources that I'll be providing at the end of the episode. And really, I'll say 5 key takeaways that I hope the listeners have, or 5 takeaways, I should say, that I want to emphasize to the listeners. And I just think it's really imperative. I am around our community. I'm around our people. And I see more than ever, I guess I'm recognizing the impacts of the unsafe, the unhealthy, the unwise food choices that we're making. And unfortunately, we have been miseducated or undereducated about food, and we just generally lack the knowledge that we have. And so I want to share those 5 key takeaways in this episode, and then I will get to the resources. The key takeaway number 1, what I want the audience to know that real food is whole food. It's whole fruits. It's whole vegetables. And that we should be eating real food and food that is very minimally processed to achieve the best health. Real food is an apple. It's broccoli. It's lettuce, like romaine lettuce. It's string beans. It's not something that's packaged and has, a whole bunch of ingredients. And in some cases, I think, people like pasta sauce, if we're not making our own pasta sauce, then the pasta sauce that we're buying or the tomato paste that we're buying, it is processed, but just the minimal processing, and the minimal ingredients, right? For example, our pasta sauce should not have sugar in it, right? It should have tomatoes. And we really don't even want olive oil in it. We want tomato sauce. And so be thoughtful about what processing is. And then know that the ultra processed edible products that I am not going to call food, I'm calling these things ultra processed edible products. they're filling the grocery stores in this country, and they lack nutritional value, but they are very high in calories. They're very high in fat. They're very high in sugar. They're very high in salt. And they're high in the industrial chemicals like the flavorings and dyes that contribute to cancers, contribute to diabetes, contribute to Alzheimer's disease, contribute to heart disease and cardiovascular disease. These things that are ultra processed, that when you and I read the ingredients, we need a dictionary, or we need a chemist to come and explain to us what this is. And the real truth about it is the chemicals that we find in these ultra processed foods, these industrialized food chemicals, if these products were being sold to us from the pharmacy counter, like when we purchase our prescription medications, the pharmacist is required by law to educate us and inform us about the medication that we're receiving, the side effects, how that drug can impact us. And if it's not a verbal education, when you get your medication, there's a whole leaflet that explains what the medication is for, the indication. If it's a topical ointment, it's treating eczema, it's treating dermatitis or whatever it is, a ringworm. It is to explain to us the indication, so what the medication is used for, and it could be several uses, several different diagnoses that it could treat, and then adverse reactions. What can happen that is an unintended consequence of this medication? We don't get that when we're buying the ultra-processed food products or edible products. That's not there. However, it can impact, and they do impact our liver, our kidneys, our heart. These foods that contribute to diabetes impact our vision. So it's all there, but we are not informed about it. And in the United States, America permits 10,000 industrialized food chemicals. And you compare that to about 300 that's permitted in Europe. And if we are cooking at home, then we know exactly what's in the food. When we're buying whole food products and we're baking or we're roasting or we're broiling, we know what is in the foods that we're eating. So we should know that real food are the whole foods, right? The broccoli, the apple, the banana, the peach, the plums, the beans. We know what's in that. We don't know what's in this ultra-processed edible stuff that's filling the grocery stores. That's number one. The second takeaway that I want to share is that we should know to watch out for packaging that says vegan or says vegan friendly or plant-based, kind of as a feature to sell the product. And now you say, well, it sounds like it sounds like you are recommending a vegan diet. And I am not so much considering the term vegan here. I'm saying eat whole foods, eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, and predominantly fruits and vegetables. And if we are going to eat meat, as you know, I say stay away from that filthy, rotten, pus-filled pig, hog, or swine. But, some people like to have meat. I say don't eat meat a lot. If you're going to eat meat, don't eat processed meats. Don't eat the smoked meats because they have carcinogen-like compounds in them. And in fact, all meat or meat in general is labeled a class 1 carcinogen. So, we should stay away from meat in general. But if we are going to eat meat, don't eat it with every meal or only eat it once a week. And so I say fruits and vegetables are certainly all that we need to eat. And you may say, well, that's vegan. I just think that we should eat whole plant foods, vegetables and fruits. But my caution about packaging that has vegan on it is because what the food giants or big food, they understand is that people are becoming more conscious about food. And the term vegan or the word vegan is in the vernacular more. And people, a lot of people, are moving over to a quote vegan lifestyle or vegan diet. So the same maker of Nabisco crackers or cookies, they're also now getting into the vegan lane. However, that is still ultra processed. It's ultra processed. So you don't have to put the vegan label on an apple. You don't have to put the vegan label on a navy bean. But they're putting the vegan label on Oreos. We don't want Oreos. So know that the food industry is very wise about the shifts that many of us are making to choose better products to eat. And so they understand that, and they're not going to miss out on making money in the vegan lane. So I won't say I am a proponent for veganism. I'm a proponent for us eating whole fruits and whole vegetables. And key takeaway number 2, watch out for those vegan friendly or plant-based labels on packaging. Takeaway number 3, I think that we should recognize that as a community, we are generally unconscious eaters, right? We eat while we're watching television, right? And if we're eating while we're watching television, it's food is a companion to our entertainment. And so we aren't really thoughtful about how much of something we may be consuming. And also about us being unconscious eaters, we are unaware that what we are eating is literally killing us. We are unaware that our palates, our taste buds, have been engineered to want the industrial chemicals and to dislike the natural whole food that's grown from earth. Our taste buds are just not excited about apples, about steamed broccoli, about beans or tomatoes. Well, I love a Jersey tomato, especially on a sandwich with basil. So that's my preference, and that does excite me. But generally, the fats, the sugars, the salt, that is what gets us excited. And then we have the MSG that I shared an episode or 2 ago in explaining how it's not that the food tastes so good, but it produces impact on our brain to trick our brain into thinking that it tastes good, not that the food itself tastes good. And so our tongues, our palates have been engineered by big food companies and their toxic industrialized chemicals to yearn for or to desire that. And so we often need a reset so that we can retrain our palates and cleanse ourselves so that those natural foods are fulfilling to us. But we're unconscious to these things. We're unaware about these things. And if we are trained as adults, think about our children. Think about the sugar that they're eating, the Sour Patch Kids, the red drinks or the purple drinks or the orange colored drinks, the drinks that are full of sugar, whether that's high fructose corn syrup, or however it is engineered to strike at those centers, those pleasure centers in our brains, right? A responsible adult would not put any sort of addictive or harmful street drug, on the plates of our children. However, if we don't understand the chemicals that's in food because we're unconscious to them, then we are leading our children down a road full of disease, dis-ease in the body, discomfort, and lifelong health implications. So we should become aware. And by listening to this episode, then you are doing just that. And I thank and congratulate you for that. And something else that I should say about us being unconscious. It is also the case that we aren't just unaware or uninformed. Sometimes we are frankly unconcerned. We're unconcerned with doing anything other than satiating or satisfying our hunger. I think those commercials, I think they're Snickers commercials, and they talk about or they depict what it's like to be hangry, right? And they have some clever commercials. I think the first one that I ever saw was with Joe Pesci, and those of us who grew up watching Goodfellas and all the Joe Pesci movies, we understand, how the character is uptight, and we know what Joe Pesci is like in his movies when he was uptight, and the friends say, just have a Snickers, and the person has a Snickers and calms down. That hangry, that discomfort that we feel when we just want to satisfy the hunger. We are unconcerned with what is going to satisfy it. Well, sometimes, being hungry, missing a meal is not the worst thing in the world that we can do. And in fact, it is very good for us to give ourselves a break, to give ourselves a time out. And the discomfort that we experience because we've missed a meal, because we're getting to our meal late, sit with that for a minute, analyze it. Like we're snappy, we're grumpy. We are like, it's like some people before they get their morning coffee. Why? Why is that? What is the food that we're eating containing that makes us so driven to get our next fix? So it's just something for us to think about. We should be concerned with what satiates us. We should be concerned with what our palates are desiring. And if it's not whole, nutritious food, real food, not these industrialized edible products, we shouldn't eat it. I think sometimes we'd be better off eating a cardboard box than some of this junk that's in these stores. But I move on. So that's key takeaway number 3. Takeaway number 4. We should know that the big food companies whose products are stocked on the common store shelves, these big food companies have no concern for the health outcomes of us eating these industrialized edible products. And in fact, we are paying them to destroy our own health. And there's a book that I've read or I'm reading called Hooked. I'll share a link with you in the show notes, by Michael Moss. This book, in his interview with food executives, there's an executive that's quoted in the book that says, I don't bring these products home. The products that his company produces, I don't bring these products home. We don't manufacture these products so the customer is going to have a healthy portion. And I don't know what you say is a healthy portion of something that's not good for us. But he says we do not engineer these foods so the customer can eat a few potato chips or can eat a couple of cookies. No, these products are engineered for the consumer to overindulge and to desire more, to want more, to be addicted to it. So this person said, I don't bring these products home for my family. So be really clear that these foods, these edible products that we find in packages throughout the grocery stores, these companies are not concerned about our health, not the general common grocery stores. I mean, there are some really good stores that sell whole food products and some packaged foods that are very ultra processed and some packaged foods that are very minimally processed. But at least we have a greater option or as great an option as whole food products or in greater numbers than the ultra processed products. And so those are some of the stores that we should be shopping in when we can. But when we can't, we should just be going to the produce section. But these companies, they don't care about us. They absolutely do not care about us. We are their cash cow, and they're engineering our palates so that we can desire these toxic edible products that they're pushing to us from these store shelves. Key takeaway number 5. This is something that we should know. No matter where our health is, we have the power to change it. We have the power to improve it. You know, in all honesty, it really hurts me to see our people suffering with diseases and conditions that are related to what we are putting in our mouths. Now, we know our water is toxic. We know, or I shouldn't say our water is toxic. That's a blanket statement. But our water can be contaminated and have contaminants in it. Flint, Michigan showed us that. And there's other stories of contaminated water. But we know our water can be contaminated. We understand that our air is contaminated. We understand that our soil is contaminated. And so even with our best efforts, we come into contact with toxins. The toxins, as I shared in, I think, episode 248 about the beauty industry, the so-called beauty industry, there's toxins in what we're applying to our skin, the hair care products. However, what we are putting in our mouths that we have control over, we are suffering from conditions related to what we are eating. And it can be difficult because it requires something of us, but we can re-engineer our palates. We can reset them so that we break the chain of addiction to salt, to sugar, to fat, to MSG, and all of these other industrialized chemicals. It will take an effort on our part, but we can break the chain. Now, unfortunately, many of our medical doctors are just simply not knowledgeable. They're not aware. And doctors will admit that they don't go to medical school and are taught a lot about nutrition and using food and herbs to heal us. That is not their curriculum. They are educated to treat diseases using the protocols that they learn in medical school, not about the power of the navy bean, not about herbs, fruits, vegetables, and how using them appropriately can help us restore our health. So, there with well-intended, great doctors who want to help their patients, they are simply not informed because it's not part of the training. Now, there are some doctors who are knowledgeable, some medical practitioners who are knowledgeable because they've went out seeking knowledge, or they learned perhaps from their patients about how they did a 15-day fast and the tumor shrunk without chemotherapy or radiation or anything like that, or how they are simply now cancer-free because they used a protocol that the doctors are not trained to use in the medical school. So there are some practitioners that do go and seek this sort of knowledge, but a lot of them just don't have it. And sometimes they may not even understand the impacts that sugar has on cancer. And so if the patient comes in and say, "Doc, is there something that I'm eating? Is there some way I should change my diet?" And the doctor says, "No, don't worry about that. We're going to give you this radiation, this chemotherapy, and that is the standard protocol for this disease." And they don't know that sugar can contribute to cancer. They may not understand the way cancer cells can come back after a treatment of chemotherapy. They may not understand how fasting while receiving chemotherapy can be used to help the patient recover, to manage the impacts of chemotherapy, where they don't have the as many or as intense adverse impacts of chemotherapy, or doctors may not understand how when a patient fasts, how those cancer cells are more easily targeted. And there's research that shows this. You don't have to take my word for it. You can do your own. I know we need it in black and white, and I accept that. And I want you to go and find out if what I'm saying is true, because it's out there. And our doctors may not understand this because it may not be a part of the world that they're practicing in. And that's okay. As the patient, as the individual, as the person, we have to do our research and find out what's good for us and what's not for us, and recognize that our doctors may not know. But the key takeaway number 5, I want our people to know that no matter where we are with our health, we have the power to change it. I know sometimes we can get a diagnosis and, or prognosis, and it can seem unchangeable, insurmountable, but it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. We can take matters into our own hands and reverse the conditions that are making us uncomfortable in our own bodies. I'll say fasting is one way to do that. It's interesting. I heard a doctor saying that, companies are studying the impacts of fasting because fasting is so beneficial to the health of an individual, but fasting is free. We don't have to pay to fast. Fasting is free. They can't patent fasting. They can't make money on fasting, so they want to study what fasting is doing to the body so that they can put that in a pill and sell it to us, right? But fasting is one excellent, excellent way to heal, to improve our health, and most importantly, to prevent disease. But it doesn't make money for the healthcare industry. But don't think that because we have a medical diagnosis that it is the end, when in fact, it could be the beginning of a beautiful, beautiful journey of learning, of healing, and of restoring our health by changing our behaviors that contributed to the diagnosis. And we do have the power, in spite of what we think about ourselves. I see our people, our older women, men, and doesn't have to be older. I see our people being impacted by these horrific, terrible diseases, the colon cancer, the aggressive breast cancer that Black women get, the aggressive prostate cancer that Black men get, the dementia and Alzheimer's, the mobility issues, the pained knees, the pained hips, the pained feet, the headaches, the life-disrupting PMS symptoms that women get, Black women specifically. But we can take matters in our own hands. It does not have to just be. Sometimes we're just so used to being uncomfortable, diseased, diseased. We just think that's just a part of life when it is not a part of life. Old age does not have to be a medical diagnosis. It doesn't have to come with a medical diagnosis. We could just be older, but we could be older and have our mobility, have our vision, have our health, have our flexibility, but we have to take matters into our own hands. So these are 5 key takeaways. Number 1, understand that real food is whole food and that the ultra-processed edible food products are depleting our health. Know that we should watch. Number 2, Key takeaway, know that we should watch these vegan friendly, or plant-based food labels that are slapped onto these products by the same companies that produce the ultra processed foods that are destroying us in the first place. Key takeaway number 3, understand that we are unconscious eaters and that we should put more thought into what we're eating. Number 4, know that the big food companies they have a stake in our disease, because we become diseased by buying and eating these products that they're pushing on us, and they don't care about our health. And then key takeaway number 5 is that we do have the power within us to make the changes that can give us confidence, make us feel good, and to restore our health. And as I said in the beginning, I would be sharing resources. Of course, How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and Book 2 by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are great resources. There's the documentary, What the Health, that's on Netflix. You can watch it on Netflix. There's a documentary, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. You can watch it on Tubi for free, those who are familiar with Tubi. There's the book called Hooked, Free Will and How the Food Giants Exploit Our Addictions. That's a book by Michael Moss. It's a great book. There's a book by Dr. Bobby Price called Vegucation Over Medication. That's Vegucation Over Medication. The Myths, Lies, and Truths About Modern Foods and Medicines. Again, that's by Dr. Bobby Price, and he's someone you can follow on YouTube and social media, and he puts out really, really great content for us, really great content in a way that we can understand it, get our minds thinking, the wheels churning about, what we can do to help ourselves. He's a brother who is very concerned about the health of his people, and I like what he's doing. Again, that's Dr. Bobby Price. And then there's a book called Can Fasting Save Your Life? And that's a book by Toshia Myers and Dr. Alan Goldhamer. And you can, and I have links to everything that I just shared with you. And I would encourage you with Dr. Goldhamer to he has a lot of interviews on YouTube, or if you on podcast apps. Alan Goldhamer, Goldhamer, and he talks a lot about fasting and how fasting is so good for us and so helpful to us. And so I want our people to reconsider the lifestyle that we have been given, not the one that we've been chosen. We've been given this lifestyle, and we can make a different decision with the information that I've shared with you. I want our people to be well. I want, and just thinking about how our minds clear up even during a fast, or if we, abstain from sugar, if we stop eating the fatty foods. Think about what it's like after we eat one of our traditional Black meals. We need to sit down somewhere and take a nap, right? No, our minds should be sharp. We should be clicking. Our wheels should be turning, should be spinning. We should be solving problems. But after we eat one of our traditional meals, we put so much in our bodies, we tax our bodies so much that the blood has to go to the digestive system to manage everything that we put there. So, after a meal is not the time that we are brainstorming and solving problems, because frankly, we can't. We're not sharp. But the foods that we're eating should be helping us stay sharp, light, fit, and energized. And so, I want to thank you for, listening to this episode. And if you have not listened to the previous episodes, go back and listen to them. You can write me at nora@noraspeaks.com. Let me know what you think. If you would like to share anything that should be added, I welcome that as well. I understand that what I'm sharing is very unpopular. But I do like to see that more of our people are considering whole food, plant diets. And I know that even, some with the vegan diets, they're still going to the packaged things. But it's a step in the right direction. I do say we should limit the packaged processed foods or products just because of the evil that is being done with those products, but be very thoughtful and be discerning. And it looks like more of our people are. So I'm very, very happy to see that. And I should let the audience know because, I do have a Facebook account for this podcast. I have a personal Facebook account as well. But interestingly enough, my page was shut down because I posted my own content, not copyright infringing on anyone else, but my page was removed. And that's fine because, Facebook isn't my platform. It's Mark Zuckerberg's platform and the people who's pulling his strings. However, this is my podcast and I have the right and I have the will to share information that I believe is good for my people. So if you're looking for me on Facebook, I guess maybe they'll release my page back to me at some point. But I understand that there's a price that can be paid for telling the truth. But my people are valuable to me, and the truth is valuable to me, so I will continue to share it. I still have an Instagram page, so if you want to follow me over there on Instagram, and I still call it Twitter, but it's called X now. I still have that account, so I will be sharing more there. But I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. It is always my pleasure to be your sister in service. Until next time, stay in peace.
We were brought here as a piece of property, and to keep that piece of property, it is to not allow the property to know the value of the property. What I mean by that, if you had known the history of yourself, you would not have been made a slave. And you won't be a slave now if you have a knowledge of yourself. It's hard to enslave a person that have equal knowledge with you. You just can't do it. And so this knowledge of yourself is the thing that will free you from what you have been suffering from.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, norahmuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@norahspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.